Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the deal with D and J. Co-host Chick Pearl. Alongside me is DJ McCatherine. Delightful DJ, some may say. DJ, how we feeling? Is it thawed out over up in DC yet? Is it slowly going down? Is it freezing? Is it cold? What are we dealing with?
It started to go away, and then it decided it wanted to be a wind chill of -5 on Saturday, going into Sunday. And now we're supposed to be in the low to mid 40s for the rest of the week this week. So hopefully, fingers crossed, all the snow will be gone by the beginning of next week. But it's still snowcrete out here. I don't know. It's just like everybody in the Northeast, from everything that I've seen, has decided that they don't care about public roads anymore, public sidewalks, or any of the above. Yeah, I don't know. How about you? Is it warm?
It's warm, yeah. We're in the 70s up over here. 70s, 60s, normally tons of sun. Doesn't make
Ask me
sense.
how much I just want to punch you in those teeth.
Yeah, but when it's the summertime and it's 106 here and it's 88 over there, I'd rather have that.
Man.
Well, without further ado here, DJ, Super Bowl happened on Sunday. We'll be a full week removed from it when this episode drops, or at least 5 days work week removed from it.
Yep.
Let's talk about it here. Let's break it down in kind of 3 parts.
Hold
right?
on. I want your scale, 1 to 10.
The game?
Yeah, let's go to the game. That's kind of what we talk about on here.
Yeah, scale of the game, I'll give it an 8. I think if you're not a fan of defense, this isn't the game for you, and I like football. So I thought it was great. I do think some of the stuff was a little anticlimactic at times, but I mean, you were watching a legendary defense at work, and the Patriots defense tried to keep them in it, and for that I give it an 8. I don't think it was a snooze fest per se. I think it got a little interesting, but you also got to remember the pacing of the Super Bowl sucks. Commercial every drive, every possession. I think one quarter had 5 commercial breaks. It just eats at you. Yeah, 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the Super Bowl.
I would give mine a 5.5 or 6 out of 10. I mean, I think I counted here 8 of the first drives in the first half ended in punts.
Correct.
I like a good defense as much as anybody else does. But, after drive 2, maybe even drive 3, you like to see adjustments. And I think that's the fun part about it. Shout out to, a game plan. Right, on defense, right? Let's send 8 people in the box and let's see if they can stop it, which the New England offensive line obviously could not. And the Seattle offensive line, for the most part, couldn't either. Kenneth Walker did his best job getting outside, as long as he made that one person miss that was sealing the outside. I mean, 7, 8, 9, 10 yards was what he was gaining. And so, but to not get too far into it, the lack of scheming once the game plan was kind of determined, at least in the first half, was what the snooze fest was to me. If you send 8 people to the box, I mean, and your wide receivers don't get open, of course, you're going to get hit as a quarterback. And of course, you're going to make bad throws. There just wasn't an adjustment to it. So for that, I think it was a snooze fest.
Yeah, I could see why you thought it was a snooze fest. I mean, there was a lot of punts, but I think, again, it was more of a chess match, and it was never going to be a game of a lot of points. I think both defenses were really good to not allow that. So I think when you look at it from that standpoint, I enjoyed it. I want to talk a little bit about both defenses before I talk about both offenses, right? And I think when you talk about Seattle's defense, it is going to go down as one of the all-timers. It is a complete, culmination of a bunch of dudes coming together with a singular focus to win. Nobody's ego was too big. And I'm not going to sit here and say that they have a superstar defense, right? They don't got a Patrick Surtain. They don't have a Micah Parsons, right? In terms of that big number 1 guy, right? They just have a bunch of really, really good dudes. Name me their edge rusher. Star edge rusher.
Devin, not edge rusher, but Devin Witherspoon is arguably a top 5 corner.
He is. No, he is.
In the NFL.
He is.
That's a bona fide number one.
But like none of it, that's not the first name that comes to mind when you're talking corners, though. He may not even come up to mind in the list, right? Because you're talking Surtain, you're talking Sauce, even though Sauce ain't that good, but you still think of him, right? Talking Christian Gonzalez, right? You're talking Jalen Ramp. Like you got these upper echelons of guys, or at least upper echelons of names. Devin Witherspoon is legit too. I think I was more impressed with his blitz ability to get in and out of guys, timed everything up perfectly. Drake May was lost, man. And it wasn't anything crazy. It was three dudes coming from one side and they didn't have numbers. It was an extra guy coming through the gap, not getting picked up, sacked. Then it was a simple bull rush that Will Campbell couldn't handle. Then it was Wilson, the inside guard, couldn't handle another bull rush, right? And it was just pressure, pressure, pressure. And then you're sitting there going, okay, we got to get the ball downfield. And you're not passing the ball downfield on Emin Wari and Woolen and some of these and Job and Bryant, right? You just were not going to get that, unfortunately. And so with that, I thought Seattle's defense was incredible. But I also want to give the Patriots defense their flowers, right? They made life really hard for Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Like Sam Darnold was throwing hospital balls. He was throwing balls into windows that didn't exist and yet somehow didn't get picked off, which I think, if you're the Patriots, I think they knew that they had to win the game on defense, unfortunately. And then when you go into a game knowing you have to win on defense, it's a lot harder of an ask of your offense when you can't capitalize on those moments. Like, what was it? It was the first drive. It was the out route. It was a 5-yard stem and out, I think, on Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp was draped. Like, there was no opening, and, like, Darnold fired it in there, and the ball gets tipped. Like, if you intercept that, you're inside the 30, you're going home with at least 3 points, right? Like, imagine how many, like, that could have maybe switched the momentum, maybe switched how Seattle played. Christian Gonzalez, though, he's probably the second best corner in the NFL. That guy kept them in it single-handedly at times. Punching out the ball on 4 different occasions, saved a touchdown, saved a first down, got them off the field, and they had a good pass rush too. They were timing up blitzes well themselves. So both defenses played incredible, DJ.
No, it was like you said, 2 incredible defenses and just offenses that struggled to make adjustments for the most part. It seemed like both teams, and forgive me, I didn't watch a ton of the second half due to work, but it seemed like the pressure in general was lifted in the second half. The whole aspect of rushing the quarterback kind of took a step backwards. All of the punishment bestowed upon the quarterbacks happened in the first half, and then that's when I would have called it a chess match, was more so the second half, because you'd still have to worry about this rush that didn't come as often. And, Drake May did not look great passing the ball, like missing open targets. Obviously had some offensive line issues, even in the second half. It was just a struggle. Sam Darnold, though he didn't have the best day either, he didn't make the mistakes that we said needed to happen in order for New England to come away with a win. And for Drake May, I mean, did what he could out there. He actually outperformed Sam Darnold, and he also outperformed all of his running backs, even despite the sacks. Drake May, he's going to be a stud. I mean, year 2, making the Super Bowl, pretty insane feat. Year 2 for these guys sometimes tends to be where it's at. It was who made, what was it, Joe Burrow was the last year 2 quarterback to make the Super Bowl?
I believe so.
And then,
or Jalen Hurts. I think it was
Jalen Hurts, maybe. Well, Jalen Hurts was probably, yeah, you're probably right.
The time they played the Chiefs.
Yeah. So Drake May will be good. New England has a couple pieces that they need for next year that I'm not going to say are easy gets, but are pretty obvious gets. And they'll be ready to roll next year. It'll be exciting for both of these teams. And shout out Sam Darnold, man. What a comeback story.
Yeah, let's talk about both offenses here, right? Sam Darnold, impressive showing in the playoffs, right? no turnovers at all in these playoffs. Everybody expected Sam Darnold to turn back into a pumpkin, turn back into old Jets Darnold. And yeah, and he just took care of the ball. Granted, he was thrown in incredibly impossible windows. But here, Super Bowl champs, he made the right decisions. JSN was pretty much bottled up. He
Yeah.
used AJ Barner a ton. He used Cooper Kupp a decent amount. And then Kenneth Walker, man, like you said, if you didn't tackle him the first time, it was 10, 15 yards. And then it was just chunk plays,
Yeah.
27-yard run, 30-yard run, right? 25-yard screen pass. Like easily the MVP of the game, because without Kenneth Walker being the bell cow, I don't know if Seattle's even in this game, right? Because they were not passing the ball well. So I was super impressed in that route. I do want to talk a little bit about Patriots offense because they were slipping the entire second half of the year. Then in the playoffs, I do understand that they played 3 top 5 defenses, right? But you played CJ Stroud and Jared Stidham were the other quarterbacks. The Patriots defense is really good and made them look terrible. Sam Darnold evaded a ton of pressure. He evaded 3 or 4 sacks himself. Just
Yeah.
stepping up in the pocket. He took one and ran for 13 yards. So that was impressive from Darnold. And talking about the Patriots, man, Drake May looked terrible. We're not going to sugarcoat it. He looked terrible. I wonder how much of that is the shoulder wasn't fully there. You know what I mean? Like he had to get shot up with a painkiller. So I'm wondering how much of that is the shoulder issue. Because he was missing dudes left and right. Guy open, underthrown. Guy open, sailed. Guy open, he's 2 seconds late, right? Or he's half a step behind. And he wasn't picking up pressures, man. He couldn't see where the blitzes were coming, even though you could clearly tell that, like, Witherspoon is not even on his dude. He's approaching the line, and you're not getting in the protection that's needed. But the offensive line for the Patriots was terrible. Will Campbell was bad. Wilson was bad. I mean, they gave up, I think, 6 sacks in the game, right? Kind of, it feels like, and then again, they don't have any real wide receivers. And I thought Drake May was going to turn it around a little bit because, they score on the big Matt Collins throw. You get some kind of momentum. You're like, oh, this is interesting, right? And then he's marching down the field again, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, Drake May's figuring out this defense. And then he throws an inexplicable, just terrible throw that gets picked off. And that halts all the momentum. I liked his use of his legs. Maybe he should have done it maybe a little bit more, but you didn't run the ball. Like I really like they were getting chunk yards. I'm surprised they didn't stay to the run game longer. I don't know if they purposely abandoned it when they went down 12, but like if you just ran the ball maybe a little bit more with Henderson, like get a little bit more juice, maybe get creative with Henderson, put him in some jet sweeps, maybe get some screens, some pop passes. Like maybe this whole thing changes. I think Diggs could have been more involved. The fact that I think Matt Collins was probably, I think, their leading receiver is like not exactly what you want to try and win this ball game. And Drake May had to unfortunately play perfect to try and beat the Seattle team. And again, it goes to show you, one, how impressive the Seattle defense is, and two, like just how good the Rams were to put up what they put up on Seattle. So when you look at it from a Drake May perspective, he's fine, man. I'm not so worried about the second year quarterback thing as others. I think that team and the way that conference shakes out, like they'll be back. They're going to be back. I'm sure of it. I think they need to get a star wide receiver one. I don't know if there's that in this draft class for them to pick at 31 for that, but I don't know. I'm fairly confident New England will be back in the Super Bowl, and Drake May will probably win the next one as long as he doesn't run into the next coming of the Legion of Boom.
Yeah, I don't really put this loss on Drake May for even as bad as he looked. At least not in the first half. Like, I think that his second half performance with some of these bad throws, and I think the second half performance with the way his throws were kind of makes more sense for his shoulder than anything. But like I said earlier, when you send 7 or 8 people into the box, right? Like you're not going to have the people to block. There is going to be a free man, and it's coming up with the scheme. Like I think I had I can't remember who it was. I think they sent the the running back in motion outside. It was a clear check down, and all the running back had to do was turn around to catch the ball, and it didn't happen, right? I mean, you're sending 8 people in the box. That's a home run ball right there, and it's just those mental mistakes from everybody on the field. Like if I'm Drake May, I'm staring that guy down. I'm just waiting for him to turn around. If he doesn't turn around in time, like it takes everybody to understand what's happening on the field in order to make it happen. And like I said, I don't think he played all that bad. Those 6 sacks really aren't his fault, or at least 4 of them. I'm not gonna be like, oh, Drake May should have gotten rid of the ball, or oh, Drake May, it didn't do what he was supposed to do. I mean, shit, the pass rush in the first half was absolutely insane for both teams. It was literally the game plan in the first half was just to bum rush these quarterbacks, and hopefully they make a mistake. And I'm pretty sure Drake May's mistakes didn't come until the second half anyways. At that point, it was just his arm is freaking sore from the hits that he's taken and trying to make something out of nothing. But like you said, going into year 3 for Drake May, I don't expect him to have a fall back. And like I said earlier, it's pretty obvious what they need. I'm not going to say that it's easy to go get it, but a couple off-season hires or free agent signings, excuse me, maybe a pickup in the draft here or there, and the future looks bright for New England. I would be scared in the AFC.
Other than that, I think that's pretty much kind of the Super Bowl in a nutshell. Jason Myers, if he maybe made 1 or 2 more field goals, that's your MVP right there because he kept them in it.
Oh yeah,
making those field goals. What'd you think of the halftime show?
I was fine with it, except for the fact I just wish I understood it. I mean, I think in actuality, for what it could have been and what I feel like kind of media put out there for it possibly being, it was not that, right? I was under the impression it was going to be this big political statement, and a double bird to the United States. And that's not what I got from at least the representation of it at all. Again, I just wish I understood it in just a little bit. I mean, shout out to was it Lady Gaga? No, not Lady Gaga. Was it Lady Gaga? Because he was the only part that I understood. It was my favorite part of the whole thing. So.
Dude, it was such a vibe though. I loved it. I love the halftime. I think the understanding of it, I don't think bothered me as much, just because like music transcends language. Like you can tell it's a vibe. You can tell what he's singing from the heart, what he's talking about. I thought it was a vibe. I loved it. I'm not gonna be one of these people who sit here and be like, it's not because it's not American or sung in English.
I don't care about that. Not at all.
I thought it was great. I thought the story that he told visually was amazing. I will say this though. If you watched it in the stadium, that probably sucked to watch in the stadium. Because he was walking through the maze of grass, and it's like, unless you're watching it from TV,
you can't see him.
You can't see him. So I think that, again, I understand that it was probably a shitty viewing experience from the inside of the stadium, but from watching at home, I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought he sounded good. I thought he sounded really good. Gaga being in there was super rogue, but digged it.
Yeah, her voice was great.
Voice is great. Kind of that little salsa mix-up was nice. Baile Evo Diable is one of my... I'm not going to try and repronounce it, but people know what song I'm talking about. That's a vibe. Oh, what a block by Arizona. That was a vibe. Yeah, I thought TT Me Pregunto to start the show was amazing, and he ended it with DTMF, which also, if you look up the lyrics, is like actually like such a sad song. Like he's talking about...
I wouldn't know.
Basically, the song is like, I wish I had more time, like, in his past relationship because he's stuck looking at old photos. But, nah, it was such a vibe. Also, at one point, it was just all, to be, to get on the bonk alert, there was just Latino women all over at one point, and I was like, Kara, I'm so sorry, but these women are gorgeous. And then also the rogue, the gallery of Alex Earl, Pedro Pascal, Acuna was in there, Ricky Martin, Cardi B, Carol G.
I think it was just a bunch of Puerto Ricans.
Yeah, but Alex Earl's not Puerto Rican. She's a blonde white woman.
I didn't see Alex Earl. I didn't hear you mention her. My bad.
I saw those white veneers from a mile away when she popped up on the screen. I was like, that's Alex Earl.
But
Let's
how about
talk
Charlie Puth in the beginning?
fire,
Did you see the national anthem?
fire camera work too. The
Yeah, I
little
saw
things.
that.
The little things.
All of USA, baby.
I will say this: I was shocked. I don't know if you saw this, but Green Day performed like as a pregame festivity thing.
I did
They
not.
sang "Holiday," "Boulevard of Broken Dreams," and they also sang "American Idiot," which I was shocked the NFL let them sing that because "American Idiot" is basically saying the government's propaganda. The government's dumb. Like they're all like, I'm shocked they let them play that, given kind of the course of what the NFL is. But other than that, football is done. So with that, DJ, we have to talk about our way too early 2026-2027 predictions. DJ, talk to me about who do you think will be your 2026-2027 NFL MVP?
Goodness, NFL MVP. I think it would be hard not to put Sam Darnold on that list. For me, I think him getting another year with this team is going to really help his case. I think Drake May has something or nothing but upward movement in this league, and where was he voted in this year's MVP?
I don't think
53?
I don't even think he was a finalist.
He wasn't even a finalist. Well, I guess with his second half, kind of the second half offensive struggles, that might make a little bit more sense than I would like. But
Because the finalist,
Sam Darnold, Drake May.
well, here's the thing though. The MVP voting, I think, is going to get swapped around because before I want to switch this up here. Before we talk about like who do we think is going to win next year, I want to talk about Matthew Stafford real quick because he did win MVP. Him and Drake May were the two closest MVPs in like nearly 20 years.
So it was Drake May.
Yeah, and
Okay.
no, and Stafford won MVP.
Yeah, but Drake May was too.
Yeah, some
Okay.
dude voted for freaking Justin Herbert.
I saw that.
And he had to like jump in there and like say all this crazy stuff to like validate him. And I'm like, stop thinking like you know more than other people, buddy.
Right.
The same guys who didn't let Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick get into the Hall of Fame are the same dudes who vote for freaking Justin Herbert to be NFL MVP. What did he do? Nothing. Nothing other than break his hand and lose in the first round of the playoffs again. Nothing. Nothing. Embarrassing. Second of all, after watching that Seattle game, Matthew Stafford should have been a unanimous MVP because he's the only guy that even came close to slicing up the Seahawks at any point this year. And it was the right call that Stafford won MVP. I can see why Drake May was right there, but again, the schedule benefited the Patriots.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford was clear cut the number one guy. If you voted for Justin Herbert, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should rescind your vote and give it to me because I actually watch football. So don't try and think you know more than us. But going back to
I'm kind of on the boat. I mean, my TikTok of Bill Belichick not getting in, Robert Kraft too. I can get on board with him not being first ballot. I can.
the Bill Belichick has 9 Super Bowls, buddy. And
I know, but
Kraft,
2 were as an assistant, and I mean,
yeah,
yes, he was the head coach of.
he was the reason why the Giants' defense became what it was. He found Lawrence Taylor. And Robert Kraft cultivated all those teams in New England.
Yes, I can find more of an argument for Kraft than I can find more of an argument for Kraft, but his off the field stuff.
Yeah, but other guys have gotten in with worse.
Yeah, not much worse, and that's only what's come to light.
I mean, if those two guys don't get in, I mean, I wonder what that's going to spell out for Brady. I mean, Brady's for sure first ballot, but you're gonna have some dudes who think they know football better than us, and they just don't. Going back to too early predictions here. MVP, man. You think it's Darnold? No, I don't.
I think Darnold can get up there. I think Darnold has nothing but improvement for this year. He's finally found stability, right? He's going to be back with Seattle, which is something he couldn't have said, if he came back to Minnesota. Not to shove that back in your face, but I think he could have had an MVP caliber season this year if he was with Minnesota, right? But it's that consistency and growing with the people around you, and that's what he gets a full off season to do, which is why I think he's got to be in the conversation. Has to be. He's also got playmakers around him, right? Which, kind of makes it easier to become an MVP. And then on the other side, you also have Drake May, who may have to will his team again if Patriots don't move as many offseason things. Their schedule is going to be harder next year, right? Because of where they finished this year. So you're not going to have the same argument. And if you gave Drake May Matthew Stafford's schedule, right, and Drake May becomes a 1 seed or 2 seed, what's keeping him from winning it? What's keeping him from doing it? If you're going to be the two closest in however long, and you're going to base your final decision on schedule, and now Drake May's got a harder schedule, and he does just the same as he did this year, maybe even a little worse, he's probably going to come away with it. So those are going to be my two finalists. I think it would be immature of me to pick one right now, but
Don't cop out.
Oh, don't talk to me about copping out.
I think for me, I think it's going to be Josh Allen runs it back. I think Josh Allen in that new fancy stadium, he's going to get a little bit of an easier schedule this go around. Like, I can completely see Josh Allen just being incredible. I think it's going to be a 3-horse race. I think it's going to be Burrow. And I think I'm going to say probably Lamar. Those are going to be the three guys trying to get MVP.
You don't think Drake May is going to be as good next year? Not MVP caliber?
It's going to be such a hard schedule for him next year. Like you got to do a first place schedule now. Like you got to play all the other first place teams, and depending on the division, that you got to swing around, right? It's going to be tough, man, because he's gonna have to go face the Seahawks again at some point, right? He's going to have to face the Bears. Right, you're gonna have to face Philly, right? I don't exactly know how, what does their schedule look like looking at next year, but it's already gonna be harder than what it was this year. And it's not any slight on New England. It's just that's the name of the game. That's how they are able to. That's how the parity in the NFL is able to keep going here. So oh yeah, here's who they get at home next year. You get the Bills, obviously. You get the Broncos. Enjoy the Packers, the Vikings, and the Steelers. And you obviously get the Raiders and the Jets and the Dolphins. Away, you got to go to Chicago, to Detroit, to Kansas City, and to LA. And you got to go to Jacksonville and to Seattle. I don't see 14-3 for them again. I think they can win a decent number of these. You're asking so much of that New England team next year to try and go and repeat what they did. It's going to be a hard road for them. I really like that. Yeah, I think. And then, you know what? I'm going to throw out one dark horse MVP guy, Trevor Lawrence. He was in the MVP finalist discussion. The last 9 games of the NFL season, he was playing at an MVP caliber. He was taking care of the ball. He was running. He was throwing it. Keep an eye on him, maybe potentially for next year there. Who do you think, DJ, will be the most surprising team next year? Give me a team that didn't make the playoffs you think will make the playoffs.
Didn't make the playoffs that will.
Yeah.
My goodness.
There's a couple cop-out answers, but I want you to think about it.
The first one that pops into my head is Cincinnati.
Yep.
The Bengals getting in, I think. Steelers moving on from Tomlin. Aaron Rodgers more than likely retiring.
I have no idea. He said.
Not that I don't have confidence in Will Howard, but that is a step down. Getting everybody on board in Pittsburgh with teams like Cincinnati is probably the easiest answer in there. The Colts. I think the Colts have a real shot at making it next year if Daniel Jones comes back healthy. I never thought I'd ever say that sentence again. But for how they looked in their first, 10 games?
Yeah.
10 games-ish? I think 8-2 or something like that. They were at the top of the NFL at one point. I think that they could be a team that makes the playoff as well. And maybe Daniel Jones comeback player of the year, ? Maybe?
Obviously, selfishly, I think my Minnesota Vikings make it back. I have to say that as a Vikings fan because we didn't make it.
No, you don't. No, yeah, I'm a Browns fan. You didn't hear me coming anywhere close to seeing the Browns.
Okay, what? You think Sodosi is going to get you there?
You think J.J. McCarthy? You think J.J. McCarthy?
Even if it wasn't McCarthy, if we just had one more win, we're in the playoffs.
J.J. McCarthy.
Whatever, dude. For my pick, I'm gonna take the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys will make the playoffs. I think if they franchise tagged Pickens, so you're gonna get Lamb and Pickens back, right? If you could just bolster up that defense with an elite pass rusher in this draft class, which they should be able to, given what this draft class is, I'm trying to see where they're drafting from, but
I mean, while you're looking, oh, go ahead.
I think Dallas being where they are in the draft, you're looking at number 12. They're projected to get Sonny Styles, right? That's going to be kind of a nice mix of a linebacker, elite edge rusher type guy, right? You add that into the defense that needed it, right? And even then, you never know. Some they may trade up and get like a guy like David Bailey. That guy would be incredible for Dallas, right? I think they're a couple pieces away from making the playoffs, and also the NFC East is also just, it's always so hard to win that division. I do anticipate the Commanders being better.
Yeah.
Don't
That's
really
another team
anticipate
that
the Giants being that much better yet.
No, they're a couple years away.
Couple years away. You got to give Harbaugh at least in year 2 with the third year of Dart. I think you'll see a lot of upside in New York. The NFC, man, you just say all these guys and it's like, dang. How are you gonna get 7 teams? Because the NFC North was hard. The NFC West was hard, minus, the Cardinals. And the NFC East, is a gauntlet, and then the NFC South is just kind of like paddling for air. But I take Dallas to be the team I think makes it in from the NFC, and if I have to go from the AFC side, I think I'm gonna take a different route than like Cincinnati or Baltimore. I'm gonna take a different route here. Cop out answer would be Kansas City.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes isn't even due back next year.
He should be due in the middle of the year. They still have so many pieces to fix on the offense. That's not even a conversation for me.
I think I picked the easiest one in the Colts.
I think you did. I kind of want to go Baltimore. I think a fully healthy Lamar gets him back, wins the division.
That's the thing about the AFC North is now wide open. Not that it wasn't before, but the
AFC South's kind of a 2-horse race with Jacksonville and Houston, and who knows what type of version of Indiana we see. Indianapolis. The Jets, I don't see Miami and the Jets figuring it out. I don't see Kansas City flipping it around, or the Raiders given their current quarterback situations. So with that being said, DJ, who do you think on the flip side now, what playoff team do you think misses the playoffs next year? NFC.
Again, with the obvious answer, just to stay on, I'll give one obvious and one kind of hotter take, but Steelers, I don't think the Steelers make it next year. I mean, it's the AFC. I think it'll be competitive. I mean, I think they're bringing back a bunch of good pieces. It's a great foundation to work with for a head coach coming in, but I just think if 1 or 2 games matter, I think you lose that when you lose Tomlin. So, and then for the not obvious, goodness, I'm trying to remember who we got. Something is in my head is thinking it could be Houston. Houston could not make it. I think that's a real possibility. But I think I'd be remiss to say Houston, not Jacksonville. But I think it would be a super hot take not to say Jacksonville, especially with as good as Trevor Lawrence played last year. But my hotter take will probably be Houston. With Daniel Jones coming back, I kind of like, one of those teams has to be replaced, right? And you've got a quarterback on one side playing, like you said, in a top 3 MVP level, right? And then you've got one who played arguably the worst football anybody's seen in a 3-week stretch. So or a 2 week, at least 2 week stretch, excuse me. So I think Houston will be my hotter take. On the other side, not going to make it. Who came out of the NFC North?
The Bears and the Packers.
Ooh.
NFC North's a gauntlet, man.
Well, that's the easiest one to pick from, too. I think the hotter take would be the Bears not making it, and my cop-out answer is going to be Green Bay. I think any of those two teams, I think Detroit comes back with a vengeance. Like you said, I don't believe in Minnesota. Sorry, I don't. I don't believe in J.J. McCarthy. it is what it is, and I have everything to back it up with. But they be able to pull off, like you said, a game or two more.
Said not the head-to-head wins. Ohio State never beat J.J. McCarthy.
I get it. We're not. It's apples to oranges right now, asshole.
I think for me, sorry, you want to finish?
Yes, please. I think if Minnesota can turn it around, like you said, 1-2 games, that whole division is different. So it'll be so interesting to see what Caleb Williams comes back as next year. And it's going to be even more interesting, I think, to see how Detroit comes back, because that would be my dark horse in that division in its entirety.
You also got to think the schedules for Detroit and Minnesota are going to be much easier than the Bears and Green Bay. For me, on the
power outage.
For me, on the AFC side, I'm going to say the Chargers missed the playoffs.
Oh, good pick.
Every year they get banged up, and I just think, depending on if Indianapolis doesn't lose Daniel Jones and have to call in Phillip Rivers, what does that end of the season look like for them? Right, you get 3 teams out of the AFC South potentially. I think Kansas City steals one against them, and I just think Justin Herbert can't stay healthy. If he can't stay healthy, they can't really win ball games. He had to come back and play on a broken hand. That team always feels like they have the pieces, but they find ways to lose. So I'm gonna say the Chargers. And on the NFC side, man, where do I go? Right? You said Green Bay. My head was thinking Green Bay, just because I think offensively they're going to hit a rut, man, just because they don't got the receivers. Christian Watson and Jaden Reed are really good wide receivers, but in that NFC North, you need a stud, right? You got Rome Odunze and DJ Moore up there in Chicago. You have obviously Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams, and then obviously in Minnesota you have Jay Jettas and Jordan Addison there. So I find it hard-pressed for them. And the Micah Parsons experiment really didn't work out to their favor as much as I thought it would. Obviously, he got hurt. But the pivot away from what you said there in terms of Green Bay, obviously, I don't see Carolina coming back. I think they're much improved. But, I can see the Bucs winning that division. And if Atlanta can just figure it out, Atlanta is a really frisky team as well.
I'm going to say this for Drew. In Stefanski, we trust.
It's a great hire for them, but
Kirk O'Kane's back with his old coach.
Yep. That's where I'm leaning here. So we obviously count down the days. We got the NFL draft in about 2 months. So prepping that. So we're ready to go here. Always ready for some football. Well, DJ, let's talk a little CBB here, a little college basketball here. Crazy weekend, right? Crazy weekend.
Your Tar Heels, man.
Yes, sir.
Greatest rivalry in college basketball.
Greatest rivalry in collegiate sports, man.
I don't believe that most people would agree with that.
Listen, it's pure-blooded hate. Schools separated by 8 miles. Come on.
That's probably all you got.
Listen, you're going to sit there and talk about, it's 20 minutes outside Raleigh. You're going to sit here and talk about the game, Michigan, Ohio State. It's so great every year. So great. Snooze fest. You guys play freaking Big Ten football. It's punt, field goal, punt, field goal. This game every year lives up to the hype. Brings the juice. It's a close game. The fan bases are rabid. North Carolina goes on a 9-0 run to win the game. They give it out to Seth Trimble, who's a senior, 4-year guy. You don't hear that too often nowadays. And he stayed with one team. And biggest moment of his life, hits a game-winning 3. Unbelievable stuff. I will say this: it was nice to finally get one on Duke, because all the highlights when they show UNC Duke, it's all the Duke game winners. It's all the Duke buzzer beaters. Now we have one, and it feels great. Feels great to have one over Duke. I hate Duke. I hate the way you hate Michigan is the way I hate Duke, and it's probably more. I hate them so much, but it's a testament. I'm still not sold on Hubert Davis because it's an every other year thing with him. Like, this year we're great, next year we're going to be bad, so we'll see how that goes. But Caleb Wilson's a dog, man. He's a top 5 draft pick. He had 23 points against Boozer. Boozer's as legit as advertised. I still think he needs a little bit more finesse, potentially a little more touch around the rim at times. But we had a big defensive stand. Dixon's been a game changer for us. Vassar got going and Vesser got going in the second half. And that's just a big win. It's just a big win for the Tar Heels, big win for the program. It's always nice to beat Duke. And yeah, it's just great. It's a great day to be a Tar Heel.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it better than anybody else could, for sure. Carlos Boozer carries this team for Duke.
Yes, he does.
Through and through. He is just an absolute dog. It's a shame that he's not going to have more time in college, but it'll be arguably a fresh face in the NBA, which is arguably it's about time for, I think. He's going to be a dog. He's going to be great to watch at the next level. But yes, the best college basketball rivalry living up to its name. You know, you can't deny. It is pure cinema. Pure cinema. What are these games, or what do you think that this meant for these teams getting into the March Madness tournaments? Do you think that this helped or hurt any of these two teams? I mean, obviously it was an upset win for North Carolina. You know, Duke, a hard contest on the road. I think Duke's a shoe-in. I think UNC probably has to fight a little bit harder. Tell me if I'm speaking blasphemous at all about any of this at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you think UNC's a shoe-in anyways? I mean, 19-4 this late in the year.
They're a shoe-in anyway. I think for UNC, I think it helps them get out of the upset bubble because they were kind of teetering on that like high 4 fringe. I've seen as low as 5 or 6 for UNC. Now I think with a win like this, it kind of puts you in the driver's seat to be a 3 seed. Because even if you go on the road and lose to Duke, that's going to Duke's place. So like you took care of business at home. You got rewarded for that in the polls. I think you're going to get rewarded with that in the net, and I think the committee is going to respect it. I don't see UNC getting any higher because they do have some really bad losses like Stanford and SMU on the docket. But like they just keep going. UNC's probably going to be a 3 as of this moment. They could be a 4, but I don't see them slipping lower than a 4. I think they're in that 3 to 4 range. That kind of cements them in that range. I don't see them dropping to a 5 or a 6. For Duke, a loss like this could be the difference between a 1 and a 2 seed. Right, because your projected number 1 seeds right now are Arizona, Michigan, Houston, and Duke right now. I think UConn should be in the top. You know, I put out my power rankings. I think UConn's a top 5 team. When you watch UConn, they're so good, consistent. Dan Hurley gets the best out of his guys. So, like, if you're in that range, right, Duke really only has to worry about 2 teams in that range, and that is Houston and UConn. Because if Houston wins the Big 12, and the Big 12 is what Bill Self said is a bitch of a conference, they're a lock in there. And if Duke slips again, right, and UConn continues to propel themselves forward and dominate the Big East and stay consistent, Duke's looking at a 2 seed. So I think the difference between 1 and 2 is a big difference because that means, you know, Duke will get a little bit of like a hometown advantage a little bit, depending on like how the seeding works out. I think it's not. I don't think it hurts Duke as much as this helped UNC.
Well, along that same line, I mean, we just had another upset victory. Michigan State over Illinois. Illinois was ranked 5th, probably on the cusp of that 1 seed as far as you know the seeding goes right now in the polls. But now you lose to a Michigan State team, kind of in the same realm as Duke, North Carolina, you know, the game itself not having as much impact as far as rivalry is concerned, but good basketball teams. How much do you think this helps Tom Izzo's Michigan State team? And how much does this hurt an Illinois team who could probably really benefit, you know, with a 1 seed, being a 1 seed, excuse me.
Yeah, I'm high on Illinois, but I don't know if I'm as high as other people are because I like a lot of other teams in front of them. And that's just a personal preference thing. But Wagler's phenomenal. Michigan State's everything is advertised with Cohen Carr and Jeremy Fear stepped up big in this game and grew up a ton, which Izzo needed him to because Fears was being very, very immature at times. I think Michigan State was kind of facing a little bit of a skid, right? They blew a lead against Michigan the last game, and then they also got upset by Minnesota at Minnesota. So this win puts them right back on track to stay in the hunt for a 3 seed, potentially a hunt for a 2 seed if they continue to win out, right? But it leaves you in the hunt for at least a 3. And that's where I think Michigan State wants to be as a 3. They don't want to be a 4, right? I don't think they operate well in that 4 to 5 range anyways historically. So I think for a Michigan State team, this win was pivotal. I think for Illinois, you can survive this because you do have the win over, I believe they have the win over Nebraska. So that, no, my bad. They have the loss. They made up. They split against Nebraska. They obviously took down Iowa. But they got to make do with what the rest of that schedule has, because if they don't win against Michigan and look impressive, they also have a win against Purdue, but Purdue is slipping. I'm not completely sold on the Illinois experience. So I think this helped Michigan State more than it helped Illinois. But I don't see this severely impacting them as much as it probably should.
That's a great analysis.
And then
I'm moving you forward. Unless you're talking more about this game.
No, I'm done talking about this game.
Well, you mentioned big movers here. And Houston is, with a great victory on the road at BYU. Talk to me a little bit about the impact of this game, because BYU was rolling there for a little bit.
Yeah,
and Houston looking to gain some ground, trying to get back, I believe, to a 1 seed. I believe they were a 1 seed last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think
getting moved back up.
Yeah, I think if you're Houston, this was the win you needed, right? You go on the road to a tough place in the Big 12. BYU has Rob Wright, DeBansa, number 2 overall potential pick, right? Richie Saunders. They have Koba on the glass, and I think this was a big win for them. They had to survive a bunch of runs. But again, it comes down to Houston basketball, man. It comes down to rebounds. It comes down to hitting big shots at key moments. Like Kingston Flemings had 19, but they had 4 dudes in double digits, which BYU can't say the same. They had 2 dudes in double digits. Houston is completely team basketball, right? They hit big threes. They shoot at an efficient clip. We're talking 35% from 3. We're talking 48 from the field, right? You're looking at 13 offensive rebounds and 27 defensive rebounds. So they're not giving you second chance points, right? So both teams were even on the glass, but it's just Houston defensively is so tough to handle. BYU shot terrible from the free throw line as well. I mean, they left 12 points on the stripe, so that was 11-point ball game. I love the way Houston plays, man. I've been super high on them in the power rankings. Like, the ability to rebound and play incredible defense outweighs the offensive capacity that you need to go win at. If you can be efficient, right, which is hitting your percentages, playing the game you can play, and you get 20 extra, like I can bring up the Baylor game, for instance, because, I was at that game, and yeah, I'm going to talk about that game, but it was a 22-point win for them, but they had 5 dudes in double digits. They had 23 offensive rebounds. That's 23 extra opportunities to go. That's how many extra possessions that you're getting. You're getting 20 more possessions than the opposing team. Then if you do the math comparison-wise, because Baylor had 10, you're getting 13 extra possessions in totality. I think that matters a lot. They're better than what they were last year. Flemings is a star, and Sinak is an incredible rebounder with Tugler and Sharp and the returners. Like they're a dog of a team. They're coming into their stride. And for BYU, they're slipping right now. I can't really tell where they're slipping because they've lost to really tough opponents, right? They lost to Tech. They lost to, obviously, this tough Houston team. But then they had an inexplicable loss on the road to Oklahoma State. And they also lost to Kansas on the road, which is a very tough place to play. Their last 6 games, DJ, was at Texas Tech, against number 1 Arizona, at Kansas, at Oklahoma State, and then at home against Houston. It's a tough.
How many did they win?
1. They didn't win any of those. They won the game they won. They beat Utah. So they're looking to get right and try and get back on track. But there's a chance, they go to Baylor. They go to Baylor on Tuesday, and obviously the result of that game will come out. But by the time this podcast episode drops, but that's a tough place to play, man. And Foster and Rob Wright's coming home. Do you know the drama about Rob Wright? He signed.
Yeah, enlighten me.
He signed a 1-year he signed an NIL contract with us.
Okay.
The rumor is social to come back and play at Baylor. Signed a contract. Dad apparently did some behind the scenes selling of his son. BYU came in and was like, we'll give you 3. Ripped up the Baylor contract, transferred to BYU. Rob Wright comes back on Tuesday. Going to be an electric environment, going to be busy, going to be loud. But yeah.
BYU donors, man, they've been gnarly lately. College football,
it's just
college basketball.
It's just the Jazz guy. It's just the Jazz guy. I think Ryan Smith is his name. The Jazz owner's just pumping him full of money right now.
I mean, Insomnia Cookies.
Yeah,
that guy. The Mormon Church.
That's also true.
They got a lot of money out there. I got one question for you in general about this Houston team. Where do you put them as far as where they were last year? Is this a better Houston team? Like, they were great on defense, right? And I feel like their defense, like if you were to weigh out their defense to offense, their defense is up here and their offense tends to be too low compared to their defensive ability, right? And then they ran into a buzzsaw and kept the game close. Such a low-scoring game in the national title game last year, and the offensive struggles is where they are. Is really what determined that game. Really, their defense kept them in, their offense kept them from winning.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's the same Houston team as always, like you said. Defense, high motor, and scoring's not the strong suit. I will say this. I think the difference between this team this year and the team last year is that I do think they got better scoring the ball. I think Kingston Flemings is the elite scorer that they needed. They had LJ Cryer last year, obviously Sharp and other guys like that. I'm trying to pull up their roster because I'm not, and Uzon and Tugler. 5 roster. But I've been so impressed with, like, we're looking at LJ Cryer, Uzon, Tugler. I think Roberts was a big point of contention for them. And when you look at it this year, I just think they have better. I truly think they have better offensive capabilities this year.
That makes.
I think they're a scary team to play. I've been so impressed with Flemings and everything else. And I just think they're finding their groove offensively. I think they were an impressive offensive team last year, but when they hit ruts, Houston was vulnerable. When this team hits ruts, they're not as vulnerable when I watch them, which makes them dangerous. I don't know if they're quite there yet for me to put them above some other teams because they do play Arizona, I think, sometime soon. So that's going to be a real barometer test for me in late February. But they get a stretch of at Iowa State, home against Arizona, at Kansas. So, tough 3-game stretch. You're going to learn a lot about yourself. So, I mean, if you could come out of that 3-0 or 2-1, that's going to tell me a lot about your program and where your team is settled. So,
they just bumped Houston all the way up to 3.
Yeah, I think it's warranted.
I didn't see the new rankings. As we were looking at this, they're putting them at the ranking that they were at the time that they played. They bumped them up 5.
I think it's warranted, but I think they're also overly punishing UConn for losing to St. John's. Overly punishing them. To drop 4 spots. They should still be in front of Duke.
Right.
But the committee is also not respecting UConn right now, so
a lot of good basketball left.
Well, DJ.
Miami, Ohio is still 20.
Yep. Yes, they are. Surviving advance. Blue is crushing it. They're going to be great in March. Let's keep it rolling here. Let's talk a little about the Olympics. Obviously, Team USA going to play in the gold medal match in curling Tuesday as well, so we'll find out that result. Figure skating, we won the team event. Electric, by the way. One guy called the Quad God.
Yep.
Doing flips for the love of the game. He gets no style points for doing it. He just does them. He was electric. He's the reason why we won. Even though I think the Japanese guy had a much better performance, but he just didn't do as much stuff as what the announcers were saying. Can't wait for the bobsled that's happening. Women, USA hockey, they're going to play Canada. I want to say Wednesday. Actually, I lied to you. They play them tomorrow.
Tuesday. It's going to be a busy day tomorrow.
Yeah, play on Tuesday, so I'm locked in. I'm watching USA Canada. I'm locked in. The men start, I think, on Tuesday. No, they start Wednesday, actually.
I might have to give the crowd a DJ not puck knower TikTok for you if you're busy during this medal match.
I'll try and be available, but we'll see here.
Hey, this is first. But they could get a very entertaining DJ video, not knowing what the hell he's talking about.
They could.
Maybe.
Women ice hockey look good. The men, I think, I'm trying to get a schedule pulled up. Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, men's hockey starts on Wednesday. So you'll get some group play going here, and then you'll get the women and no medal matches. Wednesday, you get Finland versus Slovakia and Italy versus Sweden in ice hockey. And then obviously the U.S. play Latvia on Thursday. I'll be tuned into that because obviously it's USA, but a UMass player I used to watch is on Team Latvia, Mr. Dons Lashmelis. Very pumped to watch him play and all that. Lindsey Vonn, by the way, heartbreaking end to an incredible career, inspiring others trying to ski on the knee. And obviously she got into a freak accident that had nothing to do with the ACL. Completely shattered her leg. I just read somewhere she's going to have multiple surgeries. Thank you, Lindsey Vonn, for everything you gave Team USA. Literally everything. And you're an inspiration. Truly appreciate it. These guys are amazing. I love watching the Olympics. It's incredible. And Team USA hockey is going to try and go win a gold. But Team Canada is actually the best team of hockey I've ever seen. So.
You said downside there was somebody not playing very well?
The Canadian goalie, Jordan Binnington, who's the projected starter, isn't having a great year because he's on my St. Louis Blues. He sucks, but he shows up. He's the reason why the U.S. didn't win the Four Nations last year because he played out of his mind. So we'll see what that looks like. I'm not in love with the makeup of Team USA because they left off the number one goal scorer in hockey right now. Jason Robertson, so not pumped there, but it's going to be great. I'm locked in. I'm tuned in. I can't wait to watch there. Well, DJ, we're approaching an hour 15 here. So initially, we were going to talk concerts, but I think I think we'll save concerts for another episode. I think it's just time to wrap it up.
I think you're right on par. Golf reference.
Hey, shout out Chris Gotterup with the Waste Management. You didn't even know he won.
Nope, but I do know the Waste Management tournament.
Yeah. Well,
the most electric tournament there is.
He has been the delightful DJ McCatherine. I have been your co-host, Jacob Pro. We have been the Deal with D and J. Like, comment, share, subscribe on all platforms. See you next time.